Power Trading Hour with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648 or internationally at 727-873-7618. Now, David White.
And, well, what do we have today? Well, it's another great day in the state of Florida. In God's coast, the west coast of Florida, where we come together with almost a sacred firmament to talk about the markets.
The following takes place between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m.
And we're watching the markets right now as we're kind of at the lows of the day. 41 on the S&P cash. We're kind of just dancing around those lows. Again, first thing I want to do when I see a low volume pop is see if the volume continues low through the rest of the day. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people wanting to get in front of the Fed President Powell testimony, lest he say something wrong. But I think the big thing is they're all going to try to browbeat him, or many people in Congress are going to try to browbeat him into submission. Probably won't do any good. There'll be a lot of high-handed, high horse kind of prognostication by Congress and senators, congressmen and senators, all to do about nothing. I think at the end he's going to have to say, I'm more like Volcker than the other folks that came before me. So I don't think there's a whole lot there. Anyway, you had your pop. It was just, sometimes you see something and you just think about how desperate it is. And I turned the TV on for about 10, 15 seconds, changed channels, went from CNBC to Bloomberg. And at the same time, they had a few people that I went and took a shower, came out. They had somebody else on. And guess what they were all saying? Yeah, Apple's got a PE of about mid-20s, but you're never going to get it cheaper. You better buy now. You got to buy now. You got to buy now. And anytime I start hearing that kind of, you're going to miss out, it's limited, what do the ads always say? Limited supplies, order now. You just have to think that probably not a good time to buy when they say it is. I remember over a year ago, there was a ad that I saw just incessantly right up into Christmas. So what is that, 15 months ago? And these people were all promising massive amounts of money. I don't see their ad anymore. They always have the de facto guy jumping on his private jet. If you're trying to run a great scam, the idea would be, let's go rent one, sit on the tarmac, pay off the local guy that works the flight line to let you sit in the jet for 5 minutes while you actually videotape the whole thing. Give them a couple, $200-300, make it look like you're a billionaire. I think there was a book called Winning by Intimidation that talked about stuff like that. Really just, ridiculous stuff. I remember one of the best passages in Jesse Livermore's book, where he was looking at buying some train companies, and one company had given him huge, beautiful 4-color proposals and prospectuses and earnings, the last 4 earnings quarters, and this stuff was just gorgeous. So they spent lots of money on it. Then he went to the next train company, and this guy had them. They had when they had the spindles. haven't seen one of those in for forever. Those little things that are like nails, probably because too many people were killed by them, by people using them as ice picks to their fellow workers. But they used to put those, papers on them to keep them from blowing away because there was no air conditioning. It was a hell on earth, especially if you were down here in Florida, where you did nothing but sweat and hate everybody because you were sweating. So anyway, he would make these people, once they had done these little slips, travel slips, he'd make them cut them up and use them for note paper. This guy had nothing. He had like 1 page of all the earnings and losses. And Jesse Livermore decided that that was the train company he was going to buy. And, of course, the other one went bankrupt a couple of years later. But you're putting on the dog too much. You start hearing things like this.
Eat, sleep, and trade. Eat, sleep, and trade. Eat, sleep, and trade, baby.
Every time I hear that, just my spidey sense goes off and knows, well, these guys probably have made up everything that they're going to talk about. And in 2 months from now, we'll never hear about them again. The market high is probably coming in fairly quick. So when I hear you better buy now, always just that little part of me says, do the opposite of whatever the other people are saying. And if they're all giddy and euphoric and telling you you're going to make billions if you listen to them, that horse has probably already left the barn. Anyway, that was the first thing I kind of thought of this morning. So I was looking for some kind of high today, because generally you either get it with Microsoft or Tesla or, one of these big companies that can actually move the markets. They're very very much trying to get those to move, because that's the biggest bang, and then they can sell into it with all the other stocks that aren't Apple or Microsoft or the rest. So just a good thing to think about when everybody tells you something is, why shouldn't you do the opposite? That should be the first trading question you get. When so many people, I'm not going to change, what I do is not going to move the markets. I have no misconceptions. But if you're somebody like a Kramer out there, you can move the market for a day or two. Doesn't mean that long term it's going to change anything. Somebody else was talking about interest rates and the DIN and a handful of other things, interest rates, housing sales. And it made me think of something that is been around for a while. It's called Goodhart's Law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And I can think of 100 things inside and outside the economy where that happens. But generally, if you start saying 2% inflation, the first thing that's going to happen, government's going to start lying about the numbers. You just can't help it. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. When we come back, we'll talk about Walmart, a few other things. We'll get into some questions that are already coming into the market.
Currencies, commodities, and bond markets are as important as ever right now with how they're driving the volatility in equity markets across the globe, which is why it's a great time to try out Teddy Kegstat's Tiger Forex Report. Teddy Kegstat breaks down the Forex markets every Monday using his 30-plus years of experience as a trading veteran of futures, Forex, stocks, and options. Teddy releases his weekly Tiger Forex Report every Monday morning with coverage of all the major currency pairs, including the dollar index, the euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar Swiss, dollar yen, as well as many more, and he also has weekly coverage of the crude oil market and the 30-year T-bonds, as they both influence Forex markets tremendously. When you sign up for the Tiger Forex Report, you also gain instant access to Teddy's 60-minute webinar archive he just hosted, Forex Strategies and Fundamentals, What is Behind the Tiger Forex Report. For all the details and to start your 30-day Tiger Forex Report subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you grinding in the market, but seeing little to no return? Or are you a successful trader, simply looking to make your job a little easier? Learn to take the path of least resistance with David White's powerful trading newsletter. David White is an accomplished trader whose deep understanding of technology and the markets allows him to consistently find and share winning trades. Support and resistance define the ranges in which stocks trade. By understanding these trading ranges, David White is able to find a path of least resistance. David White's trading newsletter, The Path of Least Resistance, is delivered daily before the markets open to make every trading day an easy win. Visit TFNN.com today and subscribe to David White's Ultimate Trading Newsletter for $119 a month. And try all of our newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Take the path of least resistance at TFNN, educating investors. Are you looking for a way to consistently add winning trades to your portfolio? Tom O'Brien is here to help. Tom O'Brien has been successfully trading markets for over 30 years. A frequent contributor to TD Ameritrade Network and CNBC, Tom O'Brien founded TFNN over 20 years ago to help educate investors just like you. Tom's daily market newsletter, Market Insights, is published every morning when the markets open to give you the competitive informational edge you need to succeed. These newsletters are packed full of Tom's advanced technical analysis and are geared to deliver comprehensive strategies for a successful portfolio. Get Tom O'Brien's newsletter, Market Insights, today and try all of our products and newsletters 30 days risk-free with our money-back guarantee at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
And I got to get something to somebody here. Just give me 1 second. I can get back. There we go. That'll answer that question. And we'll get to the others already in progress on most of TFNN. We'll get back to our questions in a second, or our themes, headlines. That'll be it. First question is, where do I see the TLT going? My guess is the next couple of days are going to hold it up. The Fed doesn't like to be embarrassed on days like that and Fed days, so they tend to give a little extra support. We did pop today. We had 3 attempts to push it higher. Then the whole thing fell. We've got lighter volume. I think it comes back, and my next big target is 96. Now, that may take a handful of days, but I think that's where we're going, and maybe that's in the next week or a couple of weeks. But I think we're actually fairly weak on this, but I'm looking at 96 as the next big part, and that is this huge gap higher on the 10th of November at 45 million shares. And, you know, that would just be coming back to a bottom level. I mean, you made a fairly good low out here. You just have never really come back to that level. The high part of that is about 97. So maybe you get that too. But I think everybody's continues whistling past the graveyard. Other question on USO. Take a real quick thing here. Come on, Mr. USO. We're just in a big trading range right now until this thing breaks out. I wouldn't want to be long or short it. But, you know, if you drive a kind of a nice triangle, you've got some light volume up here at 72 a couple of times. Then you've got kind of a upwards flag down here on the bottom. But generally, if I play these, they always break out. And generally, you want to fade a move after it's been going in this the first breakout it's been going this long. So if it broke higher with, say, like 73 and didn't have a lot of juice, I'd probably pull short. If it goes down on light volume back around in the low 60s, then I would probably think about going long on it. But it's just in a big trading range now. Maybe you're better at doing trading ranges than me, but I tend to just get chopped out. So not a big fan of that. Okay. Okay. Does that, I think it gets the preliminary questions out of the way. Other things I wanted to talk about today as we go out here. Walmart is closing stores. And Sandy wanted to know if this is any bigger thing happening at Walmart. And I guess the story is they got about 20 stores that are about half of all their shoplifting in the country. Maybe a year and a half ago, maybe almost 2 years ago, I talked about going to Home Depot, and they told me that they went from $20,000 a month stolen at that Home Depot to $90,000. And then you see other stores or national retail associations showing that through the end of last year, from 2019, it was about $20 billion in shoplifting. In 2019 has gone to $95 billion by the end of last year. They're now saying that in the first quarter here, it looks like it's going to $120 billion. So, could these, well, I mean, you're losing money, hand over fist, at Walmart if you've got a store in one of these places where the criminally insane run the city or the state. But if you dig a little farther back in there, Walmart's talking about closing 25 stores. It's pretty expensive to build, get the land, everything else. And, of course, once you leave, the word's up that this, wherever you're leaving is a hellhole. And no one else probably should think about putting a business in there. But that's it. But Washington, D.C., Portland, there are 18 other places that are just as bad. Does that actually help them in the long term? I mean, getting rid of the stores that they just shouldn't be in that area. I know that they did the same thing here in St. Pete a few years ago when everybody yelled and screamed. I never really figured out what the end of that was. It just kind of went away. But, if you're in a place that doesn't really push law very hard, it's become incredibly hard for these online, let me put it this way, the bricks and mortar, not the online, the bricks and mortar stores to continue. But that is something else out there. America. But, problems to beat the band. And, even here where it's actually a fairly nice area, you go in and find meat that's got that spider web thing on it that beeps if you try to take it off. And razor and razor blades are in their own little plastic prisons that have to be taken off at the front counter. The question is this just a big positive for Amazon? If especially so many of these places, the cities and towns are not going to enforce laws, what do you do? But, what can you say? I think in the short term, it's probably good for Walmart because they're not going to be losing money. Certainly horrible for people that depend on someplace as a discount store that they won't have around their area anymore. Okay, let's see what else we have. Fed's, he's on the catwalk the next couple of days. Tomorrow for Congress and the day after for the Senate. And one of the more surprising things out here, both Ford and Tesla are taking their AM radios out of their cars because, of course, if it's an EV, it makes a hell of a racket. And even if just the car next to you is an EV, it makes a hell of a racket. So Ford and Tesla are both announcing that they're taking AM radio out of the cars. Anyway, light volume today on Ford. You're back up to this gap down that you had 68 million shares on the 10th of February. You had 80 million shares on Friday, and you have about 34 million shares here today. So, you had a good pop into it on Friday, but no real follow through today. We'll be back in a
If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my Gold Report. The Gold Report is a comprehensive look at the metals sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the Gold Report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the Gold Report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABC's, Butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And I have a question about what's going on with biotech. Well, certainly Pfizer in its lawsuit in Texas is getting fairly nervous and throwing everything against the wall in a lawsuit they have down there. The one thing that has come out of it is that the contract that they signed for the therapeutic that they renamed as a therapeutic into a vaccine, although it's really just a therapeutic. If you listen to the definition 2 years ago, they said that they would, in the first part of the contract, actually in the first paragraph, it says that they will comply with all existing procedures for validating a drug. They had to admit that they had not and say that it didn't matter because the government said it was okay. But that's not the contract they signed. So the question is, this week, do the litigants, which are, this is one of those, what are they? I want to say blowhard, but it's not. Whistleblowers that came along with some of the things that they did incorrectly in presenting the evidence for passing some of these vaccines out. Well, now we know that they did about a tenth of what they were supposed to do, cherry-pick some of the results. The question is whether or not this guy is going to be able to get to discovery. And that's where you start being able to depose people. So later this week, if that lawsuit continues, look for probably, I would say, in some of those vaccine stocks, continued problems because a lot of bad stuff is probably going to come out. If Pfizer prevails on this, then there'll be no discovery and be able to probably sweep everything under the rug. But you're right at support here. It's kind of hard to figure out what is going to be the last blade of straw to break this market. What is it? Let's take a look at mRNA real quick. Yeah, I mean, all these kind of look the same. You get down on the 24th of February. You had almost 6 million shares. You had only 4 million shares on Friday today. You got 1.7 million shares. So pretty light volume bounce on here. And again, anything can happen in a courtroom. But the reality is once you get to discovery, you're going to find something. If you sue any big company, you get discovery, you're going to be able to turn over some rocks, and there will be some things that they don't want to see hit the headlines. And that's even in well-run and respected companies, much less ones that are probably playing a lot of fast and loose with what's going on. So anyway, they all kind of look like that. Same thing with the IBB. I would just say I'm kind of bearish here on the whole market, but these look, as the old saying comes, that you don't crash at highs, you crash at lows. And you're not really on a low, but it does look like there's maybe some nice setups for some ABC downs in the biotech here. And I think the impotence would be the decision by that judge in Texas, federal judge, on whether or not discovery goes ahead, because they'll be able to dig and plod through just about everything in these in the big vaccine industrial complex. 877-927-6648. Let's see out here. So we're up still 8 points on the S&P, 7 points on the S&P, just hovering around the lows of the day, but we didn't have much volume. See what else I wanted to look at here. BMRN. BMRN. So you gap down, BioMarin Pharmaceuticals, you gap down, you got some decent volume, but you may be close to support. And everybody knows that's watched this program for a while, I love stocks coming back to where they have these double gaps, an existing gap that gets reversed, a gap down that fills with a gap higher, and then you come back right where, a lot of times almost to the penny, where these gaps actually collide. That's why I wrote The Art of Timing the Trade Charts to do this and point it out, because I saw it happen so many times. But that would suggest you're maybe down to a little bit more like, it was 80, 93, well, maybe 92 and a half. You're almost there. on that, but you've got some decent volume. It's not nothing. You gap down against 4.6 million shares up on November 23rd, and you're probably going to hit that today. So let's go back and look at the gap before that gap. And that goes back to the gap down on November 27th, and that was 4.3 million shares. So, you're getting, let's call it 3.2 million shares today. That does look like that could be problematic. Okay. As we continue to watch the market hover around the lows of the day in the S&P 500, 4,051 is kind of that level that is probably going to retest, and we'll see whether or not anybody decides to try to buy into the Fed over the next few days. Question about Ulta, I've said, although a lot of people wanted to short this thing, I never understood shorting a stock. Now, I can understand not going long, but if I see lines around the block, it's always hard for me to actually short anything. You do have a doji out here today, though, and you had a bunch of them over the last 5 days. You're probably going to get a little bit more action, but I'd be a little closer to looking at this now than later. Question earlier about Tesla's short positions. Still the most shorted stock in the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, although it is tailing down a little bit. But really, you've got this kind of a sideways action. My guess, based on experience, is that they're going to run all the shorts out, and maybe it's a $20 up day, and then that gives it all back, and that will be the sign that you have made a top in Tesla. But at the levels that Tesla is being shorted, and I did get the new numbers out here. Yeah, it's far too crowded for anybody to go there anymore. Yeah, the old, was it yabbity dabbity doodah? What was his name? Yogi Berra. Okay. Okay. That's something. I don't know what it is. It says a 1. I don't know what that 1 means. Anyway, we'll go back to...
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
The technology around us is changing every day. With so much happening, it can seem impossible to keep up with all the information. David White's investment newsletter, The Technology Insider, is designed to give you all the information you need to understand the technology that shapes today's markets and tomorrow's future. David White has made his living staying on the cutting edge of technology. His weekly newsletter will give you specific recommendations for value tech stocks, as well as entry prices, target prices, and stops to set for each trade. Dave delivers his weekly newsletters every Friday with updates throughout the week. You can get the Technology Insider at TFNN.com for only $37.50. Sign up for David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, and get an inside look at everything the technology sector has to offer. Try it risk-free today with our 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
As you go to Google for one of our DIN members who wants to know what's going on with this. And, well, you know, you had a huge move down. That was back on the 9th of February, 120 million shares. You're up on 21 million shares into that candle today. Could you get a little bit more, maybe 97? Somebody else asked me or said something about Snap. And the big problem I have with all of these companies right now is that they're all knee-deep in the Supreme Court. And I'd probably think that Snap was a better version of these others because there's probably going to be some significant laws changed, or the way that these companies operate as Section 230 is narrowed, so they don't have complete immunity. Nobody's got, and no tenant, whether it's the First or Second Amendment, none of them are absolute. For the First Amendment, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. All of the big ones, there is, you know, they're not absolute. And so there's going to be kind of a change. And of course, there's 4 major cases that touch on Section 230, and all these companies are going to have to change the way they do business. The question is it about 50-50, or do they go whole hog on these guys and make them basically a common carrier, like a phone company that really can't pick and choose about what it does? You know, they've argued that they're a publisher when it suits them. They've argued that they're not a publisher when it doesn't. And, well, I've listened to the first 2 big parts of the cases, but the big part, they gave the government another 30 days. That was about 2 weeks ago to respond. So they're also waiting on that. So, you know, you're probably talking about May out here. But, you know, the smaller the company, probably the easier it will be for them to change. So I would imagine Snap will have the easiest of the bunch out here. You got a nice day, you got some decent volume. But I don't see a lot of reasons to get in front of the Supreme Court because they're going to do something. You just don't know how much. Now the Supreme Courts they're going to get involved. If you listen to the questions, they want, and they don't take cases just to do nothing. They already kind of know the answer. The question is, you know, can anybody talk them out of it? So I've never seen where they really double back on any reason that they took the case in the first place. If they wanted that, they just remand it to the lower court. When they take on 4 cases on Section 230, there is going to be a change. 877-927-6648. Well, we've had a light test so far of the low of the day, but we're really not getting out of the troubled area, 4,054. See if we have anything else out here. Reminder, if you haven't heard it or gotten 20 emails or listened to every one of the ads, Larry Pesavento is having a webinar on Wednesday, a live trading webinar. And my time frames are a little longer, so I'm not going to do anything in a day. But if you are that kind of active trader, you might want to go and wander over to the TFNN website and sign up for it. 877-927-6648. Email me at path@tfnn.com. Okay, let's go back here and look at that. See here. INCY. Question, when I looked this morning, and I've seen these things change enough, but supposedly Powell starts at 10:30 tomorrow morning. So we're probably they're probably going to get the written testimony out around 10 and bloviate and gas bag for 30 minutes before he gets to any answers of their questions. So you'll probably get a little bounce one way or the other on his written testimony. That testimony will probably be the same on Wednesday, we could hope. But you'll probably get the most out of it tomorrow. But generally, you get about 10 o'clock, they get started, and this is from past history. You never know what these guys do. They're almost always late, so you never know about that too. Insight gap down, actually fairly lighter volume. You gapped up on November 1st of last year with 4.1 million shares. You only have 1 million shares today. So let's go back and look at the profile and see what these guys do. They are a pharmaceutical biotech company. Discovery, development, and commercialization of therapeutics for, I think this is blood, inflammation, autoimmune areas in the United States, Europe, Japan, and internationally too. Sounds internationally. To the treatment of adults with intermediate or high risk myelofibrosis, lymphomia, fibroblast growth. All this stuff makes me think I'm going to get sick to my stomach just reading about this stuff. They've got words I don't want to even say on the radio here, and they're medical words. Okay. Does look like that would be where support is on that one. Don't know much about it. It seems like they do a great deal, and they're out of Wilmington, Vermont. Okay. We've got that. Do we have anything else? Let's take a look at Apple. It's up a little bit more than 2%. As I said this morning, the hair on the back of my head always stands up when everybody's telling me to ignore the PE. It reminded me of a famous saying where everybody said, just ignore everything. When someone says but, everything before the but, just erase it. Forget that they ever said it to you, because the only truth of everything is after the but. Anyway, you're going into 4 million share pop up. That was on February 30th. February 3rd. There's no February 30th. 154 million shares. Tried to get into it again on the 16th, 68 million shares. You pulled back, filled that gap. You gapped up twice. Today you got about 65 million into that 154 million. And that is why you have to worry about when these guys are telling you what to do with your money. We'll be back in a minute.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years, with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
We're talking about the Newlywed Game. My, does that make me feel old and young at the same time. But you never know. Let's see. Just looking through everything here and seeing if anybody else asks anything that I need to get answered, if I missed anything. I think I answered or emailed them back, most of them. We have broken the low of the day, although we're kind of still hanging around 40.50 and bounced just back into the trading range here just a little. But you know, this is one of those days you drove back up into the previous highs around 40.85. You're going to do so on probably significantly lighter volume. This is about the fourth time that we've pushed up this way with a lighter volume each time. So I'm saying that, you know, this is probably the top end of the trading range. The question is whether or not we go down to the 39.50 and break the lower one, in my opinion. Maybe the Fed decides to fold like a $5 suit or a $10 suitcase. in the next couple of days? I don't think so. I think they're going to continue to try to support the market sideways-ish, but they're not going to feel all warm and fuzzy by the time they get done on Wednesday. In fact, I'll probably feel like taking a bath. Anytime around politicians, you're going to get a little bit dirty. You're going to get a little on you, whether you want to or not. So we're going to have a lot of grandstanding and glad handing. I don't know if we're actually going to get anything other than probably the announcement at 10 tomorrow when they release the context of his speech, or actually the transcript. It is. So we look forward to that in the morning. Until then, sell when you can, not when you have to, and I'll return tomorrow.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most